Game 3 of the NBA Finals is tonight, so we have yet another Awesemo Prize Picks video. If you guys are new to Prize Picks, head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Awesemo when you're making your first deposit and get up to a $100 bonus on that first deposit. The first player I'm looking here is Jae Crowder for over 22.5 fantasy points. Now, Crowder's also somebody that I liked for Game 2 of the series. He ended up going over. We have seen his prop go up to 22.5. If I remember correctly, I believe it was either 18.5 or 19.5, somewhere along those lines for the last game. So the big difference with Jae Crowder from Game 2 to Game 1 is he actually hit his shots. Game 1, he made 0% of his shots from the field, a little bit of positive regression in that realm. Scored 11 real-life points last game, ultimately ended up scoring 30.5 Prize Picks points. Now, even with his line going up for today, not a real issue for me because, once again, Jae Crowder is going to play a big role in this series. He played 37 minutes last game. So with that in mind, I think over 22.5 is the play. The next player that I'm looking at is Cameron Johnson for under 16.5 fantasy points. Now, Cam Johnson has played fairly well in this series. Game 1, he scored 22.6 Prize Pick points. Game 2, he scored 14.6. The 16.5 line is about fair, although I still have it projected a little bit under the total. So one thing with Cam Johnson is that he was in line to play really big minutes in this game had Torrey Craig not been able to play. Torrey Craig left last game early with a knee injury, but he's listed as probable to play tonight, so it looks like he's going to be good to go. So even though Cam Johnson got a little bit of extra run because of the Torrey Craig injury last game, he still only ended up playing 18 minutes. So I don't think we're going to see a massive amount of playing time from Cameron Johnson as long as Torrey Craig's good to go, which as of now, that looks like it's going to be the case. The final player that I'm looking at on Prize Picks tonight is going to be DeAndre Ayton for under 41.5 fantasy points. Now, Ayton's been terrific in the postseason, especially in this series. He scored over 40 fantasy points in each of the last 2 games. And then even going back to the final game of the series against the Clippers, also a game where he scored over 40 fantasy points. But still, I'm looking at his numbers overall for the season. Where on the regular season, we saw an average of about 33.5 Prize Pick points for DeAndre Ayton. And then overall for the playoffs, he's averaging 35.5 fantasy points. So as well as Ayton is playing right now, he's still barely hitting over 41.5 in recent games. And I think his numbers are going to regress just a little bit going forward. He's had really high defensive stats, especially last game. He had 3 steals and 2 blocks. That's something I don't exactly expect him to replicate. So under 41.5 with DeAndre Ayton, that's somebody who I'm looking at. So to recap the players that I'm looking at on Prize Picks tonight, it is Jae Crowder for over 22.5 fantasy points. It is Cameron Johnson for under 16.5 fantasy points. And then DeAndre Ayton for under 41.5 fantasy points. If you guys are new to Prize Picks, head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code Awesemo. Get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit.